Today on Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat, the crew at MCU wraps up the final rigging on the classic 22-foot Mako restoration.
These were things Lee wasn't expecting he was going to be spending money on the boat, but at the end of the day, it was well worth every penny.
FS Boating editor Dave East heads out with Brian O'Donnell, owner of MCU, to discuss one of his first custom builds, a completely transformed 27-foot Seacraft.
Really, this is the boat that kind of started your whole entry into taking old boats and rehabbing them and turning them into something better than brand new.
And Brian and the crew go above and beyond while rigging Jason Baumiller's backyard find flats boat.
I cannot wait for Jason to see his boat because he has no clue we're doing this.
All coming up on Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat.
All right, so we've got this really neat, cool Mako in the shop right now. It's 22 foot, it's a classic Mako, but there were some things on this boat that just weren't right. The back transom wall, it was on a funky angle. When you walked up to it, it felt like you were gonna fall out of the boat when you leaned against the back of it. We took that thing apart, we cut it up, we incorporated a live well to the back. We found out that his back bracket was completely rotten. We weren't able to clean it up and paint it before we repowered it, so we had to put a brand new Armstrong bracket on the back of the boat. So we're getting really close right now. I've got Steve up on the dash. He's finalizing all the rigging. Mike's helping out doing the rub rail. We're gonna get ready to roll this thing out of the shop, get some gas in the fuel tank, and get this thing out on the water.
So we got the 22 Mako in, getting ready to put the rub rail on. Unlike the Hydro Sport where it was a one-piece rub rail, this is a 20-foot section. So we started the bow and work our way back, but on the back we got a really sharp 90-degree corner. I found a way where if I heat it hot enough, I can twist it and it'll kind of fold out a little bit, but I'll get the angle I want, let everything cool down, and I'll start manipulating the plastic to where it becomes a lot smoother, a better finish in my personal opinion. Once I went ahead and got everything tweaked and turned to where I liked it, I think it turned out pretty good. You can never get it perfect, but you get it as close as you possibly can.
I've got this JL head unit I'm going to be installing on the dash of this Mako, and I'm checking out pretty cool looking little unit. It's Bluetooth only though. It takes up very little room on the dash. 1-inch hole I drilled through the dash. It's just got one jam nut on the back, and you put it in, tighten down the jam nut, you got it sealed up with a gasket, and now I've just got to wire it up to the amp and we're ready to go with this unit. On the Garmin units that we put in this boat, he's going with a Garmin VHF and a Garmin GPS combo plotter. I'm going to be installing this new transducer with the side scan, and this transducer really needs to be as far to the middle and bottom of the boat as possible. But now I got to look at the bottom of the boat and look for high-speed pickups, lifting straights, not to get the transducer directly behind them because they're going to cause air bubbles to interfere with the transducer. So it's going to be kicked off to the starboard side a little bit, up some. Then I'm going to run my wire nice and neat and keep it nice and tight because I got a slim platform / bracket on the back of the boat. Now I've got to get the plug of the transducer that's going to plug into the Garmin unit through the transom. So it's going to require a pretty big hole. So when you do run it through like that, it is very important that you get that hole sealed up very good with 5200. You need to protect that transom from moisture, which will rot the wood that's in the transom. Turned out to be an easy installation. I didn't have no trouble running the snake up to the console to get the transducer up to it.
All right, so I had Lee Ford come to pick his boat up today. By the time we got walking to the back, the first thing he saw was coming around the back of the transom was that brand new 4.2 liter Yamaha, that Armstrong bracket. He saw those original Mako logos on the back. I could see the sparkle in his eye. He was excited beyond belief. Once we had a chance to jump up in the boat and go over some systems and things, he was totally excited to see that new retro console that we did. We went with a little more modern look with that Garmin recessed from the back of the panel where it all flows and looks all blacked out, and that JL radio. When I backlit his acrylic dash panel, you hit the switch, it all turns blue. It lights up perfectly with the LEDs on the JL radio. With the starboard, the way Dave did all that flush mounting, he mounted everything from the backside. We rounded everything over. That seafoam color really went beautiful with the boat. That bird's all leaner seat. Now he's got the ability of having a footrest built in. He's got the actual storage underneath the seat. He's got somewhere to put a cooler. He was really excited to see all these things. The back transom wall. When he got in that boat, he just felt like there was a way bigger cockpit. I mean, we literally only moved that wall back about 4 inches, but it does. It gives you that feel. When he said that and mentioned it to me, I noticed his foot was right up against the transom wall, so now it doesn't give you that feel like you're gonna fall out of the boat. These were things Lee wasn't expecting he was gonna be spending money on the boat, but at the end of the day, it was well worth every penny.
Saw my Mako for the first time. Brian and I just did a walkthrough and I'm completely blown away. I can't wait to get the boat on the water. You know, as a small businessman myself, I'm really admire what Brian's doing here. He's hired a team of master craftsmen. He's out in front conducting the music, and his guys can flat out play. They're rock stars, every one of them.
When we return, FS Boating editor Dave East heads out with Brian O'Donnell to discuss one of his first custom builds. This segment brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us during this one man's Dreamboat ride-along, where we feature boats and their owners whose dreams have already become reality. This week, FS Boating editor Dave East heads out with Brian O'Donnell, owner of MCU, to discuss one of his first custom builds, a completely transformed 27-foot Seacraft.
All right, Brian, I'm glad we could meet up out here today so you could go through this 27 Seacraft. And really, it's only fitting that it's part of the show, because really this is the boat that kind of started your whole entry into taking old boats and rehabbing them and turning them into something better than brand new.
It is, it really is. The gentleman that brought this whole dream and vision to me, well, he actually went up to Sebastian and found the boat in the woods. And it would use an old inboard cabin boat, but the hull is what drew him to it. He knew what could be done and be implemented into the boat, and he knew I had the know-how and ability, and he gave me the opportunity to do it for him.
Well, y'all really went over the top on this, because from looking at the boat from the outside, it looks like you just slapped a bracket on the back of it, but you didn't. You actually extended the running surface of this boat, so you've got the running surface of a much larger boat, but you're going to get the ride, plus you've kept that legendary Seacraft running surface. It's just, you've opened up this cockpit so much more.
It gave him the cockpit. There's a huge live well here. He had me put in a couple of little basins on either side for when he's live baiting, somewhere to drop the bait in. He's got huge fish boxes here in the cockpit. He's got a really nice bilge access. You're able to get down inside the bilge. And also the console. This console has 6.5 foot of headroom inside of it. That's something you don't see in a boat this size, typically.
Wow. Well, I wanted to look at the helm anyway, but show me inside this console. Now you have me curious. Well, you know, sometimes simple is just better. And when you look at this helm, the layout, it's really, it's all you really need and nothing that you don't. The way you've laid this out is how a hardcore fishing boat should be laid out. No nonsense.
No, without a doubt. But hold on a sec, Dave, you passed an important part of this boat. This guy was all about fishing in a 10-foot cockpit. I gave him his 10-foot cockpit. He needed a tackle center. Inside the top of this tray here, he's got an area where he could put all his ice, and then he's got little trays to lay his ballyhoo down on top of starboard, so they're not laying in the water, getting all wetted out from the fresh water or the ice. And then down inside, he's got a spot for his 5-gallon pail to put his cast net in, and then he's got these drawers that pull out, and he can keep all of his Plano boxes with all his different tackle. He's also got a really neat spot for his lunch. That's a separate cooler altogether.
Back to the console. Tell me what's inside the console. You said it's, 6.5 foot headroom, but there's got to be more than just that in it.
Well, this is actually where all the rigging is, Dave. The pumps are down inside, the batteries, the battery charger, and this area is a completely dry area. There's never any water. I still have the original fresh water pump in this boat, the original battery charger. It's crazy how I haven't changed any switches or wiring or rigging in this boat in all these years.
Well, it just shows when you take something out of a nasty saltwater bilge and you put it in an environment that's dry and the saltwater can't attack it and get to it, one, it's easier to maintain because you can get to it, but two, there's less maintenance because you don't have that salt water always attacking it. All right, well, you said this guy put this boat together for hardcore fishing. If we're out there and we get a big fish, That's where I want to fight him, is from the bow. By looking forward, it looks like you've designed to do just that. Take me forward and let me see.
Let's do it, Dave.
All right, this is what I was talking about. For hardcore fishing, this is what a boat like this should have. Walk all the way up to the bow. You've got your rod holders here for your pitch rods. You've got another rod holder in case you get something really big. You can lock down in there and fight him almost like a fighting chair. But in a boat that's going to be used for going offshore and battling with big offshore fish, this is how a bow should be laid out. This just goes to show you how you can take an older boat, you can put a little bit of money into it and turn it into exactly what you want, rather than buying something that somebody else built and it just, working for your needs. There's a big difference between custom built and production built.
And the other thing, Dave, too, is it's cool to see how the dreams move on to other people. When Will was done using the boat and he was moving away, he said, Brian, I'm going to sell the boat. You need to sell it for me. I was like, well, maybe I should buy the boat. I've had the boat now for 6-7 years. I'm done with the boat, Dave. I'm not using it much. It's time for it to go to its next owner.
The fact that it's in this condition and you did this work back in '02, either A, you're not getting on the water enough fishing, or B, you did a hell of a job because she's still staying together.
No, Dave, I would have to say it's C, so it's all the above. But at the end of the day, this dream, for me, like you said, it never really was mine. I've got to pass this thing off. I've got to find a new owner for this boat, and hopefully we can convert it to them and make it their custom dream boat. And I'm sure there's someone out there that would love to have this thing.
Well, we're ready to get back on the water, so Brian, thank you very much. I appreciate it. The boat's beautiful. You did another fantastic job. What can I say?
Dave, thank you very much.
With an initial purchase cost of $2,000, after adding $198,000 in custom modifications at MCU, the cost of this Dreamboat comes to a total of $200,000. When we come back, the crew at MCU makes structural repairs on a familiar bass boat. This segment brought to you by JL Audio, how we play.
Yamaha's next generation V6 4-strokes are changing the game.
Mid-range power was awesome.
Fuel, the burn, it's unbelievable.
Couldn't believe the speed and the fuel economy is pretty impressive.
I couldn't believe the power. It was like it was more like doing a quarter mile on a drag strip.
And them things are like, it's a whole nother game. So I made the switch.
Experience the difference for yourself during the Yamaha Discover V6 Offshore Demo Tour. See why we call it the Game Changer.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us as the crew at MCU works on a familiar bass boat, returning with structural damage in need of repair.
All right, guys, so I don't know if you can remember, but we had this Ranger bass boat in our shop. We had to do some repairs. We did a color blend and a match in the metal flake on the boat. The boat looked like brand new when it left here. Now here we are again. It's back in the shop. It just happened to be that his son this time was towing it down the road though. He ran through a stop sign, put it into a ditch. The boat got jackknifed, the trailer got all banged up. The boat smashed the forward V-stop of the trailer at the forward winch area, and it's pretty gnarly. Once the guys get all that structural glass work done, Mike will be able to get in there, do some gel coat blends and repairs. He'll be able to fair everything out nicely. Jim will get his boat back. He's not gonna realize that the accident actually even happened. It's gonna look like brand new again.
To begin the repair, first the damaged area of the hull is grinded down, including all surfaces where stress cracks have formed, until the gel coat is removed and the bare fiberglass underneath is exposed. Then the shape of the grinded area is traced onto a piece of paper, which is used as a template to cut a new layer of fiberglass. These pieces are soaked with resin and placed into their corresponding areas on the hull. Any air bubbles are pushed out to ensure a permanent bond. Once dry, the area is grinded down until the new fiberglass is level with the surrounding gel coat surface, preparing it for the final bodywork.
So I'm working on a project in the shop, and I look out of the road, and I could have swore I've done this bass before. It's like deja vu. Sure enough, Brian comes to me and tells me that the kid messed his dad's boat up again. Luckily, it's not in metallic, so it's pretty cut and dry repair. And the guys are pretty good at having it pretty much perfect. But I still like to go over it, make sure that I don't have a high or a low. Went ahead and I pulled a polyester wipe over it first. If there's any major lows in there of any kind, the polyester wipe's gonna hold a lot better than a Bondo wipe will do. Went ahead and I bared it all out. I had a couple lows that I had to do, so I went ahead and went back over it with Bondo. Started using blocks and blocking it out, making sure that the transition from the boat to the new repair was as smooth and clean as possible. So it may look like just a simple white gel coat repair, but white's not white. When I start off with my pure white gel coat to start matching, it can go everywhere. Reds, blues, greens, I mean, black. It really takes a toll on a quick job, if you will, just because it's white. I wound up having to use a lot of browns, a little bit of blacks, red. It still took a little bit of time to get the color right. Now that I got the color matched, it's pretty cut and dry to what I gotta do. I went ahead and I sanded with 120, even through all the body work, just to get everything nice and smooth, so you don't have a lot of scratching lines. And then I went ahead and 220'd out around it. When I reverse tape, I went ahead and mixed the gel coat up. Now we don't do a primer with this like you would do on a paint job. The gel coat holds a mechanical bond. There's not really a chemical bond to it. So we don't have to do a primer like we would do on a paint job or something to that effect. It's pretty thick. When you spray it on, you've got a lot of play with being able to block it all out and get it exactly what you want it to be. So we got a couple coats on there. I feel it's pretty good. I'm gonna run the DA over it, make sure that I don't have any lows or any little imperfections I don't like. At that point, if I do, I'll go ahead and fix those, but this one turned out pretty good. Now I've got it buffed out to a beautiful shine. You can't tell where any repair was at all.
When we return, the crew at MCU works together to rig Jason Baumiller's backyard find flats boat. This segment brought to you by MyFWC. Life jackets save lives.
Boating is a great way to relax, but staying safe means being aware. Don't get distracted. Always pay attention to your surroundings. Be aware of other boaters. Stay focused. Stay alert. The marine environment is constantly changing. Stay safe and be aware.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us as Brian and the crew at MCU go above and beyond while rigging Jason Baumiller's backyard find flats boat.
So I had this guy Jason call me about a Shipoke flats boat. He told me he found it through a friend. It's sitting in the backyard of someone's house for like 6 years. I told him he had to take the thing home, give it a good cleaning and a bath. It actually came out really nice, but we found some problems. The back transom of the boat, there's a crack right along the back part where the cap meets the transom. In that area, a lot of times when you've got these production manufacturers, they don't take the time and effort to bond and glass the two pieces together and actually lay a lamination across and then blend the gel coat back together. It's a lot more work. I knew he was on a budget, but he knew I couldn't put the motor on without doing it. And he said, pull the trigger, go ahead and fix it. So we got this thing all ground down. Once you grind down the multiple laminations from the top cap to the hull area on that joint, you're able to layer in new laminations of cloth and not build it up too high. So when you fair this whole area in, it's gonna blend naturally and you're not gonna tell that it was ever patched or repaired. So once the guys got that all done, I put Mike on the back of the boat because I want to do a nice gel coat blend. And he discussed to me about a situation on the back of the boat where the colors were so faded on this thing, he just didn't know where to break the lines. He asked me if it was all right for him to go ahead and spray the transom. When Mike was all done, he got it all wet sand and buffed out. It was the right thing to do. The thing looks correct. You can't tell. Once that brand new Yamaha goes in the back of the transom, it's gonna look like you just had the boat painted. All right, so I put Dave up in the Shipoke flats boat to do some preliminary layout for the rigging. He almost slipped and fell right out of the boat. He said the non-skid's non-existent. There's just none there. It's kind of dangerous. I know it's not in his budget. I know he's not gonna be able to do it. So I'm gonna get all the guys in the back of the shop to pitch in a little bit. We're gonna put a little extra overtime in. Jason's still gonna get it delivered on time. He's gonna have that Yamaha on the back, but he's gonna have some non-skid. And that's what I'm talking about. It's safety for the family. No one's gonna be slipping and falling, and I'm all about that.
Brian went ahead and told us a little background behind this, and it was kind of one of those heartfelt ones, so we wanted to really try our best. So we brought everybody in.
And that's the way this shop works. You can bring us something that looks like that, you know, and when it's for somebody that deserves it and has worked hard, you know, we come together, you know, and yesterday was, you know, a prime example.
I love jumping in and helping, man. It makes you feel good. At the time, I had no clue. Like I said, I was on the job all day, and I just got back to the shop, and I was like, hey, man, we got to get this boat in non-skid and out of here and back to the guy.
It took a little bit of effort on everybody's part to make it happen, but everybody stepped up and did it. It's gonna be much better for him. He's gonna really love it because he's gonna get in and out of water. So nobody's slipping and falling or anything like that.
The thing looks amazing. I cannot wait for Jason to see his boat because he has no clue we're doing this.
All right, so the guys pulled off a miracle. I put 4 guys on this job. I told them I wanted it to happen overnight. They made it happen. The 115 Yamaha showed up this afternoon along with the U-Flex steering. I'm gonna get Dave out there. I'm gonna give him a hand. We're gonna get this motor and steering installed on the back of this boat. Jason will be showing up later today. We're gonna have this thing all wrapped up by the end of the day today.
We're working on a flats boat for Jason, and we just uncrated a brand new F-115 Yamaha 4-stroke. Right before we went ahead and hung it on the back of the boat, we started hanging a new steering system on there for him. Put a lot of grease on that because that's just getting blasted with salt water and it really don't get rinsed off that well by most people. So once we got that rod in there, we went ahead and looked at the instructions because each motor and boat have a certain amount of spacers that need to be put in. So we followed the manufacturer's instructions on this and went ahead and mounted it like they recommended. And then after we got that, we went ahead and hung the motor on the back of the boat. You always want to check for your lower unit to be at a correct height. So when the shear comes off the back transom of the boat, you don't cavitate or it's not too low and you get spray, causes drag. This particular boat, we noticed the back of the transom actually had a little kick. We decided to go ahead and jack the motor up a little bit higher. It is a flats boat, so allow them to get back there in the flats a little better. So Jason's going from a cable steering to hydraulic system. Really easy, it holds it straight a lot better. I mean, it's just overall, it's the way to go. He'll get the steering hooked up, bleed it, and probably bring it to us, for startup, make sure everything's, A-okay. And he's gonna have a really good boat. Looks good find, we think, It was a really fun little project.
What do you think, Bubba? What do you think?
What do you think of the non-skid?
Oh, shit. Are you kidding me?
Look at that.
Yeah, oh my God.
I told you it was a slip and slide. You can't have that, man. You're gonna fall on your butt. And when I heard you were gonna be out there with your kids, I was like, I can't have him out there on his boat with his kids without non-skid on there, so. We got the non-skid taken care of for you.
It's 10 times better than I ever imagined it coming out. I mean, Brian went above and beyond. I mean, making the non-skid, that was a huge part. He really came through and saved me on the whole thing.
We blended the whole back transom, so I recoated the whole entire back half when I wrapped that up around the back. So, and it was good. I didn't see any rod or anything like that when we were doing all the repairs.
That was my next question. I wanted to see once it was cut open what you were going to see.
We jammed on it. We played on it. It's pretty solid.
Look at the steering. Oh man.
Look at the starboard deck plate.
The helm work, the motor. Everything about it. It's just one step closer to becoming our dream boat. This is ours. This is.
It's our dream come true.
Next time on Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat, join the owner of Marine Customs Unlimited, Brian O'Donnell, and FS Boating editor Dave East as they revisit some of the most memorable builds of the season.